The El Nino index just hit plus 0.6 and a massive Kelvin wave has already crossed the Pacific. Forecasters say we are literally about to open the can on El Nino status. A massive dip in the jet stream is loading up for the May 5th through 7th window, and the ingredients lining up for that event are making forecasters genuinely confident. Picture your neighbor right now, the one who spent last weekend planting tomatoes and peppers because it finally felt like spring. She has no idea what the models are showing for May. Today is a genuine step down from the severe weather we just came through. But this is not the end of the story, it is the calm between two chapters. At the 6-minute mark, I am going to show you the exact atmospheric setup that has forecasters sitting up straight for next week, and it starts with a train track. And I am going to give you some real good news about drought relief, good Lord, y'all. The southeast has been bone dry, and what is coming through mid-May is genuinely welcome. But first, here's your honest picture for today, Thursday, April 30th, because there is still a risk on the board this afternoon, and you need to know about it before lunch. At the 6-minute mark, I am going to show you the exact atmospheric setup that has forecasters sitting up straight for next week, and it starts with a train track. And I am going to give you some real good news about drought relief, because good Lord, y'all, the southeast has been bone dry, and what is coming through mid-May is genuinely welcome. But first, here's your honest picture for today, Thursday, April 30th, because there is still a risk on the board this afternoon, and you need to know about it before lunch. Here is the straight talk. Today is the quietest day we have had in the southern tier all week, plain and simple. This is a step-down day, not a get-comfortable day. The Storm Prediction Center has a level 2 slight risk covering southwest and south-central Texas. San Antonio, Austin, Waco, and Killeen are all in that yellow zone this afternoon. The main story in that slight risk is large to very large hail. We are talking potentially 2 to 3 inches in diameter with damaging winds and a low-end isolated tornado also possible. That slight risk is surrounded by a level 1 marginal zone eastern Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama along the Gulf Coast. A retired electrician named Earl from outside Nashville said it best the families who came through just fine were the ones who spent the quiet days getting ready, not relaxing. The Dryline in the hill country and moving southeast as the heating peaks. San Antonio and Austin, if a supercell organizes near you this afternoon, hailstones. The size of a golf ball are the main thing you are protecting vehicles and outdoor equipment against. Houston and Dallas, you are in that marginal zone, risk is lower, but isolated storms with gusty winds and hail are still possible through the late afternoon and evening hours. New Orleans and Baton Rouge, a storm cluster could track your way by this evening with damaging wind gusts and hail as the primary concerns, so stay weather aware tonight. Mobile and Birmingham, you are in the marginal risk as well, and locally heavy rainfall causing flash flooding in. Flash flooding in low-lying areas is an additional concern alongside any stronger storms moving through tonight. The fire weather picture is still serious. Bone-dry fuels and critically low humidity across the southern plains make any spark an immediate threat today. Here's what I want you to do right now. Drop your city and state in the comments and tell me what the sky looks like outside your window at this moment. That real-time ground truth from you helps me pinpoint exactly which areas need the most attention in tonight's update. And if your city has not come up yet, this is how it gets on my radar. I am not just saying that. Folks, your reports have genuinely shaped where I focus my follow-up coverage, and tonight's situation in Texas and along the Gulf is moving fast. Now, let me give you the weekend picture, and I want to start with something that does not always get enough airtime in these forecasts. The break that is coming is earned, and it is real. Friday, May 1st brings another marginal risk along the Gulf Coast. Texas and Louisiana are still in play. But outside those coastal areas, most of the country gets a genuine exhale. A coastal storm develops this weekend near South Carolina and pushes beneficial rainfall through Georgia. And northern Florida, 1 to 2 inches for areas that have been dangerously dry. Saturday, May 2nd and Sunday, May 3rd shape up as the quietest back-to-back weather days most of this country has seen since mid-April, and after the roller coaster we just rode, that matters. Temperatures are going to feel jarring compared to last week, the Deep South. Ohio Valley and the Great Lakes, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, the Euro Ensemble average puts. Here's what I want you to do with this calm window. Use it. Do not just sit in it. Check your weather radio batteries. Cover those garden plants. Charge your backup battery. Get squared away. The families in his neighborhood who came through just fine were the ones who spent the quiet days getting ready, not the ones who spent them relaxing. That is the mindset this weekend. Sunday, May 4th is your crown jewel of calm. Genuinely beautiful across most of the country, and I want you to enjoy every minute of it. Take the family outside Sunday. Let the grandkids run around. Fire up the grill if the temps cooperate, but check the forecast Sunday evening before you go to bed. because Monday is when things start shifting. And here's the kicker about this cool pattern that most people are missing those below average temperatures. This weekend are not a fluke, they are the signature of a larger atmospheric story that I am about to walk you through. Now here's where this forecast gets real again, and I need you with me for the next few minutes because what the models are showing for next week is not something to scroll past. The jet stream right now is running almost perfectly flat from west to east. Meteorologists call that zonal flow, and it is why this weekend is quiet. I can only describe as a massive, massive dip, the kind of dip that gets atmospheric scientists genuinely excited. That dip is the green light for the atmosphere to reload Gulf moisture surging north. Wind shear cranking back up, instability rebuilding, and when all three of those come together at the same time, the result is severe weather. Nobody who lived through the last 2 weeks of April should need me to explain what back-to-back severe weather setups feel like, but I am here to tell you the jet stream is loading up another one. The specific window is Tuesday, May 5th through Thursday, May 7th, and I am feeling more confident in this one than the preliminary numbers alone suggest, because the ingredients are lining up in an unusually organized way. Tuesday through Thursday, folks, mark those dates right now before you do anything else today, because that is your next appointment with severe weather. Here is the atmospheric setup driving this event, and I want you to picture the jet stream like a set of train tracks running across the country. Right now, those tracks are running flat west to east, no drama. But by Tuesday, those tracks dip sharply southward, and every storm that forms rides that dip straight into the central and southern states. That is not my analogy, that is exactly how the source material describes it, and it is the most accurate picture of what is coming. The instability starts rebuilding Monday afternoon as storm fuel creeps back in from the Gulf. By evening, you are already seeing values climbing from Oklahoma City eastward toward Kentucky, Nashville, and Memphis. Tuesday, May 6th is when the atmosphere really fires instability values building strongly across the central and southern plains, wind shear ramping up, and the ingredients for supercell thunderstorms all lining back up at once. The primary tornado corridor for Tuesday is currently pointing at the central and southern plains, Oklahoma, Kansas, and Missouri, with the threat shifting east into the Tennessee Valley and Mid-South by Wednesday. Wednesday, May 7th is the day I am most focused on the threat travels furthest east. The severe weather corridor could reach from Michigan all the way back into Louisiana and even scrape into the Carolinas. Thursday, May 8th is also a day worth watching because instability continues tracking east and southeast, with thunderstorm fuel getting into the Carolinas and possibly pushing toward the coast. Here is the inside read that separates this forecast from a generic one. The SPC has already flagged this window, and the ingredients are lining up in an unusually organized way. And when the forecast models are this consistent at 7 to 8 days out, forecasters take it seriously. A retired school principal named Margaret from just outside Memphis told me something I think about every time. We track a week like this, the families in her community who came through. That is exactly why we are talking about Tuesday through Thursday right now. On a Thursday, you have a 4-day runway, and that runway is the difference between prepared and caught off guard. Now, let me tell you what is actually driving all of this, because understanding the big picture is what separates a weather watcher from someone who just reacts to warnings. That El Nino index at plus 0.6 means we are on the brink of weak El Nino status. And the Kelvin wave that crossed the Pacific is going to keep accelerating that warming through spring and into summer. What El Nino does in practical terms is push the jet stream southward across the central and eastern U.S., which is exactly what is producing this cool stormy pattern through the first half of May. The West Coast gets warmer and drier under this setup of positive PNA, while the central and eastern U.S. get cooler, wetter, and more storm-prone through at least the first half of May. And here is the part that is genuinely jaw-dropping. The models are showing what some forecasters are calling a super rare May Arctic blast is possible by the second weekend of May. Temperatures in the 30s across the Great Lakes and Northeast. That is mid-March weather sitting over the northern states in the second week of May. Flat out remarkable. Pittsburgh to Boston in the 40s, Atlanta in the 50s, the Deep South in the 60s. This is not your typical spring warm-up, and it is absolutely not going to feel like it. And your tomato plants do not care about the distinction between unusual and record-breaking. If you have plants in the ground, cover them up before Wednesday morning. No excuses, because freeze conditions are still possible across the upper Midwest and northern plains. Now here is the real deal on the good news. The rainfall signal running through May 12th is one of the strongest beneficial drought relief patterns we have seen this spring. The 6 to 10 day and 8 to 14 day outlooks both show above average precipitation for the Deep South. Southeast and up the eastern seaboard, southern Georgia, northern Florida, the Carolinas, and coastal Virginia. These areas have been running dangerously dry, and multiple storm systems tracking along that southward jet stream are going to deliver meaningful sustained rainfall over several weeks. The Corn Belt, Nebraska, Iowa, Missouri, Kansas, Wisconsin, the second week of May shows a drier signal, which could finally open a planting window for farmers who have been stuck watching the radar. Looking further out toward June, that El Nino warming continues to build in both. The Southeast also looks warm in June due to drought feedback Georgia, Alabama, and the Carolinas, which makes the May rainfall relief genuinely important before summer heat takes over. The overall picture for the next 30 days, plain and simple, active and stormy in the south and east, warm and dry in the west, and that is not changing anytime soon. Here's the question I want you to answer in the comments, and I am genuinely curious about this one because your read on this matters to how I build the next updates. Based on everything I just walked you through, where do you think the highest tornado threat lands next Tuesday through Thursday? Oklahoma City, Kansas City, Memphis, Nashville, or the Carolinas? Drop your city, drop your prediction, and tell me how much rain you think you are going to get out of this next system, because some of you have been calling these setups more accurately than I give you credit for. Your location in the comments also helps me make sure I am covering your specific area when I build tomorrow's forecast. If you're somewhere I have not mentioned, this is how you get on the map. For today's risk areas in Texas and the Gulf Coast, if you have vehicles you want to protect from large hail, get them under cover before storms fire this afternoon. No excuses. Mobile home and manufactured housing residents in the slight and marginal risk zones, even on a quieter day like today. Straight line winds and large hail are life-threatening without a sturdy structure to shelter in. Know where yours is before storms fire. Turn around. Do not drown the rainfall through this system and into the weekend. Piles up fast in parts of rainfall piles up fast across the south in these setups, and roads that look passable at a glance can turn dangerous within minutes. Charge your phone and backup battery today while it is calm. The pattern ahead has multiple severe weather events on. The pattern ahead has multiple events on the calendar, and you want your devices fully charged between each one. If you know somebody in South Central Texas, coastal Louisiana, or the Mid-Atlantic who might not know about today's remaining risk, do yourself a solid and share this with them. A heads up from someone they trust is worth 10 news alerts. They are going to scroll right past them entirely. Take 30 seconds right now and share this with someone who needs it. Here's your closing picture. 3 numbers I want you to carry into the weekend, and I want all 3 to stick. Plus 0.6 on the El Nino index, a Kelvin wave already crossing the Pacific, and a positive PNA locking Arctic air over the eastern U.S. This is a named driven pattern, not a random cold snap. A massive jet stream dip arriving May 5th through May 7th, classic severe weather setup. Forecasters genuinely confident, millions of Americans back in the crosshairs for another significant outbreak. A super rare May Arctic blast on the way for the second weekend of May. Temperatures in the 30s across the Great Lakes, jaw-dropping by any standard on this roller coaster of a spring. The folks who come through stretches like these in one piece are always the ones who got. Here's your closing picture. 3 numbers I want you to carry into the weekend. Plus 0.6 on the El Nino index, a Kelvin wave crossing the Pacific, and a positive PNA locking Arctic air over the eastern U.S. This is a named driven pattern, not a random cold snap. A massive jet stream dip arriving May 5th, May 6th, and May 7th, classic severe weather setup with forecasters genuinely confident and millions back in the crosshairs. A super rare May Arctic blast on the way for the second weekend, temperatures in the 30s across the Great Lakes, jaw-dropping by any standard on this roller coaster of a spring. The folks who come through stretches like these are always the ones who got the forecast early, used the calm window to prepare, and did not wait for a siren to make a plan. Sunday, May 4th is your breather. Get outside, enjoy it, take care of the people around you, then check back Sunday evening because Monday is when this atmosphere starts loading again. We are going to track every development as the May 5th through 7th window comes into focus. The details sharpen fast once we clear the weekend. Get notifications turned on so you do not miss a single update in a pattern moving this fast. 24 hours of lead time is the difference between ready and scrambling. Stay safe out there, take care of the people around you, and we will see you in the next one.